The metal was cold against my throat, so cold I could feel my pulse hammering against it. Commander Vexa Thorne stood over me, her crimson armor gleaming under the dying lights of my ship's emergency systems. Her reputation preceded her, the scourge of the Outer Rim, the woman who'd single-handedly brought 3 colonial fleets to their knees. And now she had me. "Lieutenant Kai Reston," she said, my name rolling off her tongue like a verdict. "The stubborn little engineer who's been sabotaging my supply lines for 6 months." I tried to steady my breathing, tried to remember my training. Don't show fear. Don't give them anything. But looking into her eyes, those strange violet eyes that seemed to see straight through me, I felt something crack in my chest. "You going to kill me, or are you just enjoying the view?" I managed, my voice shakier than I'd hoped. A smile curved at the corner of her lips. Dangerous. Predatory. She pressed the blade closer, and I felt the sting as it broke skin. A single drop of blood traced down my neck. "I should," she murmured, leaning closer. Her breath was warm against my face, smelling faintly of something sweet and foreign. "You've cost me resources. Time. Soldiers. Then do it," I whispered back, meeting her gaze with whatever defiance I had left. "What are you waiting for?" Time seemed to stop. Her eyes narrowed, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I could see the calculation happening behind them, the warrior's assessment of threat and value. I waited for the blade to sink deeper. Instead, she did something that short-circuited every survival instinct I had. She kissed me. Not gentle. Not tentative. Her lips crashed against mine with the same intensity she brought to battle, fierce, demanding, claiming. The blade fell away from my throat as her hand moved to grip my jaw, holding me in place as she deepened the kiss. My mind went blank. Every thought scattered like stars. When she pulled back, I was gasping, my heart racing for entirely different reasons now. "I could have killed you," she breathed against my lips, her forehead nearly touching mine. "But I won't, not yet." "Why?" The word came out barely audible. Her violet eyes locked with mine, and I saw something unexpected there, not just the hardened warrior, but something hungry, something lonely. "Because," she said, her thumb tracing the cut on my neck, "you're more interesting alive. And I haven't felt interested in anything for a very long time." She stepped back, and suddenly I could breathe again. But the air felt different now. Charged. "Get up, Lieutenant. You're coming with me." The detention cell aboard her flagship was far more comfortable than I'd expected. No bars, no shackles, just a spacious room with a viewport showing the endless stars and a bed that didn't look like standard military issue. House arrest for a prisoner of war. I asked when Vexa brought me a tray of food herself, another unexpected gesture. "You're not a prisoner." She set the tray down, her armor now replaced by a fitted black uniform that somehow made her even more intimidating. "You're under my protection." "Protection from what?" "My crew." She sat on the edge of the bed, close enough that I could smell that sweet scent again. "Half of them want you interrogated. The other half want you executed. I'm the only thing keeping you alive." I should have been scared. I should have been planning my escape. Instead, I found myself moving closer to her, drawn by some inexplicable force. "And what do you want?" I asked softly. Her hand reached out, fingers tracing the collar of my shirt. Something I shouldn't. The air between us crackled with tension. Every logical part of my brain screamed this was wrong. She was the enemy, the destroyer of worlds, the nightmare parents used to scare children into obedience. But when she kissed me again, slower this time, more deliberate, logic dissolved into heat. Her hands found their way under my shirt, palms warm against my skin. I gasped into her mouth, and she took advantage, her tongue sliding against mine in a dance that felt both foreign and utterly right. My own hands moved to her shoulders, feeling the solid muscle beneath the uniform. "Tell me to stop," she whispered against my neck, her lips trailing kisses down to my collarbone. "Tell me this is madness." "It is madness," I breathed back, tilting my head to give her better access. "Complete insanity. But you're not stopping me." "No." My fingers tangled in her hair, shorter than I'd expected, practical for battle. "I'm not." She pushed me back onto the bed, her body covering mine with surprising gentleness given her reputation. The weight of her felt grounding, real, like an anchor in the chaos that had become my life. "I've dreamed about you," she confessed, her lips hovering over mine. "Ever since I first saw your file photo. Those defiant eyes. That sharp mind. I told myself it was just strategy, studying my enemy. But then I'd wake up thinking about those eyes looking up at me exactly like this." Her hand slipped under my shirt, fingers splaying across my ribs. I arched into her touch, a soft sound escaping my throat. "Vexa," I whispered, her name feeling forbidden and delicious on my tongue. "Say it again," she commanded, her eyes dark with want. "Vexa." She kissed me deeply, swallowing my breath, stealing my thoughts. In that moment, I wasn't a prisoner. I wasn't an enemy. I was simply hers. And terrifyingly, I wanted to be. 3 days passed in a blur of stolen moments and dangerous attraction. Vexa would disappear for hours to command her ship, then return to me with that hunger in her eyes that made my knees weak. We'd talk, actually talk, about everything from engineering theories to childhood memories to the philosophies that drove us to opposite sides of this war. "You're not what I expected," I admitted one evening as we lay tangled together in the dim light of my quarters. Her fingers traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. "What did you expect? A monster?" "Yes," I said honestly. "The stories about you are mostly true." Her voice held no shame, no apology. "I've done terrible things in the name of my cause. Killed people. Destroyed homes. I should have pulled away. Instead, I turned to face her, studying the sharp lines of her face. Why? Because the Coalition promises freedom, but delivers chains. Her jaw tightened. They took my home planet, stripped it of resources, left us to starve while they grew fat on our labor. When I was 16, I watched my sister die because we couldn't afford the medicine that cost them pennies to produce. The raw pain in her voice made my chest ache. "I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Be willing to see that your precious Coalition isn't the hero you think it is." She was right. I'd seen the corruption, the inequality, the way certain planets prospered while others withered. I just never wanted to believe it was systemic. "So what now?" I asked. "You've convinced me the Coalition is flawed. That doesn't make your methods right." "No," she agreed, pulling me closer. "But it makes them necessary." Before I could respond, the door chimed, an urgent pattern. Vexa was on her feet instantly, pulling on clothes with military efficiency. "Commander," a voice crackled through the comm, "we have a situation. The prisoner's location has been leaked. Coalition forces are inbound." My heart sank. Someone betrayed you? Or someone wanted to test my loyalties? She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Get dressed. Quickly." Minutes later, I stood in her command center, watching Coalition ships appear on the view screen. My ships. My people. Coming to rescue me. Or execute her. "You could use me as a hostage," I said quietly. "Buy yourself time to escape." Vexa's laugh was bitter. "Is that what you think of me now?" "I don't know what to think anymore." She turned to face me, cupping my face in her hands. "I'm not using you as a shield, Kai. But I'm not letting them take you either." "Then what?" She kissed me, hard and desperate, in front of her entire bridge crew. When she pulled back, her eyes blazed with determination. "We fight. Together. Or we run. Together. Your choice. My choice. Between duty and desire. Between everything I'd been taught and everything I'd come to feel." I looked at the Coalition ships, then back at her fierce, beautiful face. "We run," I whispered. "Together." The escape was chaos. Vexa's ship, the Crimson Talon, cut through space at speeds that should have torn us apart. Behind us, Coalition fighters pursued with relentless determination. Every time weapons fire illuminated the view screen, my heart lurched with the reality of what I'd just done. I'd chosen her over my own people. "Can we make the jump point?" I asked, my fingers flying over the navigation console Vexa had assigned me. "Not before they close weapons range." Her voice was steady, controlled, even as explosions rocked the ship around us. "Kai, I need you to access their command frequency. Your authorization codes might still work." "And say what?" "Sorry I defected, please stop shooting?" She shot me a look that somehow managed to be both stern and fond. "Tell them you're being held hostage. Make them believe you're still loyal." "That's a lie." "Is it?" Her eyes met mine across the bridge, and in that moment, I saw her vulnerability. "Maybe you are my hostage. Maybe I've trapped you with something more effective than chains." Before I could respond, the ship lurched violently. Warning klaxons blared. "Direct hit to aft shields," her tactical officer reported. "Shields at 40%. Vexa cursed in her native tongue. "Kai, now or never." My hands trembled over the comm controls. This was it, the absolute point of no return. Once I lied to the Coalition for her, there'd be no going back. I'd be branded a traitor, hunted for the rest of my life. But when I looked at her, this fierce warrior woman who'd shown me tenderness and trust despite everything, the choice felt inevitable. "This is Lieutenant Kai Reston." I spoke into the calm, injecting fear into my voice. "I'm being held against my will aboard the Crimson Talon. Commander Thorne has threatened to." "Kai, don't." Vexa's voice cut across mine, but there was a script we were following now. "You'll regret this." I kept talking, feeding them false information about our heading, our damaged systems, buying us precious seconds. The Coalition ships adjusted their pursuit, falling for the misdirection. "Jump point in 30 seconds, Vexa announced. Then quietly, just for me, "Thank you." We made the jump with seconds to spare, the ship lurching into hyperspace in a blur of stars. When the all-clear sounded, the bridge crew erupted in relieved cheers. Vexa stood, her eyes finding mine across the chaos. Without a word, she strode toward me, pulled me up from my seat, and kissed me in front of everyone, claiming me, announcing me, making it clear I was hers. "My quarters," she murmured against my lips. Now, we barely made it inside before clothes were being shed. There was a desperation to our touches now, a hunger born from nearly losing each other. She pressed me against the wall, her mouth hot on my neck, my collarbone lower. "Tell me you don't regret it," she breathed between kisses. "Tell me you're here, because you want to be." "I want to be here," I gasped as her hands explored my body with renewed urgency. "I want you." She lifted me easily, my legs wrapping around her waist as she carried me to the bed. We fell together, a tangle of limbs and lips and whispered confessions. "You've ruined me," she said later, as we lay breathless in the aftermath. "I can't think straight anymore. All I see is you." I traced the scar that ran along her ribs. "Good. Then we're even." 3 months passed. Months of hiding in the lawless sectors between Coalition and Resistance space, forging a life from the ashes of our old ones. Vexa's crew accepted me slowly, some faster than others, but they accepted me. What surprised me most was how Vexa changed when she wasn't playing the role of feared commander. She laughed more, smiled at terrible jokes, taught me her language in bed, whispering words of affection I'd practice back to her. "I have a proposition," she said one morning, both of us still tangled in sheets, the soft light of an artificial dawn filtering through the viewport. "Should I be worried?" "Probably." Her fingers traced patterns on my chest. "The Resistance is fracturing. Too many factions, too much infighting. And the Coalition is planning something big. I've intercepted communications." I propped myself up on one elbow. "What kind of something big?" "The kind that will devastate both sides and leave nothing but scorched earth." Her expression darkened. "Unless someone steps in. Someone with knowledge of both sides. Someone who might broker a real peace, not just a cessation of violence." "That's impossible. The hatred runs too deep." "Maybe." She pulled me back down, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Or maybe it just takes the right people showing that cooperation is possible. That former enemies can become something more." I understood what she was really asking. "You want to try to negotiate peace? You, the scourge of the Outer Rim? With you, the brilliant Coalition engineer who chose love over loyalty to a broken system." Her smile was soft, hopeful in a way I'd never seen before. "We're the proof it can work, Kai. We're the bridge." It was insane, dangerous, likely to get us both killed by zealots on either side. But as I looked into her violet eyes, I realized I'd already made my choice months ago when she kissed me instead of killing me. "Okay," I said. "Let's try to save the galaxy." She kissed me then, slow and deep, sealing our pact with passion. When we finally pulled apart, she was smiling, that rare, genuine smile that she only showed me. "Together?" she asked. "Together," I promised. Later that day, we sent out the first communications to moderate factions on both sides. The message was simple: meet with us. Talk. Find a better way. The responses would take days to arrive. In the meantime, Vexa and I stood at the viewport of her quarters, watching the stars drift past, her arms wrapped around me from behind. "Do you think it'll work?" I asked quietly. "I think," she murmured into my hair, "that if a Coalition lieutenant and a Resistance commander can fall in love in the middle of a war, anything is possible." I turned in her arms, capturing her lips with mine. She was right. We'd already done the impossible. Everything else was just details. Epilogue. 6 years later, historians would mark our first peace summit as the beginning of the end of the war. It took years of negotiations, compromises, and more close calls than I care to remember. But slowly, impossibly, we built bridges where only battlefields had been. And through it all, Vexa and I remained constant. Partners in peace as we'd been in war. Lovers who'd chosen each other over everything else. On the day the final peace accord was signed, she found me on the balcony of our shared quarters on the new neutral station, a symbol of cooperation between former enemies. I was thinking, she said, sliding her arms around my waist, about that moment when I first had you at my mercy. When you decided to kiss me instead of kill me. Best decision I ever made. She turned me to face her, her violet eyes warm with love. Marry me, Kyreston. Make it official. Show the galaxy that peace isn't just possible, it's beautiful. I laughed, pulling her close. Is that an order, Commander? A request, she said softly. From the woman who loves you. Then yes. Absolutely yes. We kissed as the sun set over the station, two former enemies who'd found something worth fighting for, each other, and the future we'd build together. The end.